Oh, I'm just like, it's impressed into the back of the...
Hello. Just have windmills coming out of the vehicle or something.
Yeah. So back in 2018, Volkswagen released the Touareg, a full-size luxury SUV with a mighty 900 Newton meters of torque. Now, to put that in perspective, that's 50% more torque than the Lamborghini Huracan and even more than the brand new BMW X5M. Now, it's usually horsepower that makes all the headlines, but with 421 horsepower, it's certainly not lacking in that department either. So what kind of freak did Volkswagen cook up? And how does it feel to drive? And why is no one talking about this? Well, we're here to find out. And while my mate Andy is pretty good at walking back with cameras, he doesn't know much about cars. And so we're going to get his perspective and mine on today's episode of Kiwi GT. How did it feel to get cut out of the intro, man? I'm sorry about that.
It's pretty brutal, but you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you deserve it. I think you deserve it. No, honestly though, cutting you out of the intro reminds me that that's one of the main reasons that this car is interesting, because it was cut from the North American lineup. It wasn't available in the USA or Canada.
That seems to be happening a lot.
I know, the RS4 wagon that we drove as well was the same.
Yeah.
I don't know, why don't they get nice things over there? Anyway, so what makes that interesting to me is that it's not just the fact that it was cut from North America, but there are a number of good reasons why it was cut over there. And all of those reasons, well, I'll go through them in this video with you, Andy.
Okay.
You'll learn a lot. No, you're all good. Let's just get straight to the conclusion right now. I mean, pretty good car, yeah.
And we're
done.
It
No, but there's a number of reasons, all to do with the format of the vehicle, the engine.
The format and engine, yeah. We're calling out all of the different components.
Yeah, the format. Oh, I can't wait to talk about the format. Yeah, love formatting. To be honest, it's pretty surprising that we even get cars like this in New Zealand, like interesting cars, because little old New Zealand in the middle of nowhere, I mean, most people stereotype us for being like Lord of the Rings or whatever, but we get nice stuff.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, there is that wizard just over there.
Oh,
hello.
Yeah, I mean, that's just Paul. I mean, that's fine. Maybe he can have a driver later too. But first, you haven't driven this car yet, have you?
Not yet. So
well,
I'm looking forward to it.
I kind of just want to get you in here without telling you much about the car and just get you to gun it.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Yeah, no.
Last video, Andy was like, I hated how many times I said, let's do it. So I want to say something different. What did you say? Let's do. Let's do.
Me now. Good. Let's do it.
Oh.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Oh, God.
Oh. It just keeps pulling, eh?
It does, man.
Oh, man.
Oh.
How did that feel for you?
Oh.
You sound, dude, this is getting inappropriate.
Yeah, it tickled my bum a
close
little
the
bit.
curtains a little bit. Give me some private time. Oh man, that's rapid.
Yeah, it's kind of feels like, especially in the larger vehicle like this, like a plane. You know when you're in a plane and it's taking off?
Yep.
That first moment of acceleration?
It does feel like that.
But not quite right at the start. It almost took a second.
Yes.
It felt like it took a second to be like,
did.
You want to go really quick right now.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. So, this thing pulls like a bloody freight train, and that's a kind of a cliche phrase in the car world. Well, I think it came actually from dogs randomly. Anyway, I don't understand. But anyway, it actually kind of is an apt comparison, because freight train is diesel and this is a diesel, if you believe it. So
what?
Yeah, this thing's a diesel, man. But I was so shocked at the performance profile of this car being a diesel, because I did not believe they could be this quick. And the fact that it's a diesel is one of the main reasons that this vehicle, as it is, wasn't launched in North America, like I was talking about.
Why is diesel an issue?
Well, several reasons. So one is this car was kind of launched hot off the heels of that whole Dieselgate scam with Volkswagen.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So I guess North America kind of lost trust in the brand a little bit and in diesels based on that. And I guess we were like, yeah, that's all right. We don't mind a bit of a scam. Yeah, just give us a diesel. Yeah.
They're like, the vehicle's going to be cheaper now?
yeah, we can get it $5 off. But to be fair, even over here, in Europe and New Zealand, Australia, where diesel is a lot more popular and it's not so frowned upon, even we need some convincing that you can get a high performance diesel. You know, like even over here, it's still normally associated with
just
industry.
Trucks and utility.
Tractors and utility and boats and ships and trains. And so, yeah, man,
that is the perception.
And this specific car changed my perception of diesel.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does not feel, if I can say feel in this instance, it does not feel like a diesel vehicle.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah, it's it's so surprising, especially with such a heavy. I expect it's heavy. How big is it?
A good question. I actually don't know the weight off the top of my head.
Be over 2 tons.
I'll put it on the screen, but it'll be a heavy beast for sure.
So people prefer to talk about horsepower or newton meters of torque.
Yeah, on our
okay.
side of the world, we actually use kilowatts for the most part to talk about power, which is weird. There's no standard.
The traditional, power rating?
Depends where you are in the world. Yeah, and that's the thing that's annoying. Same with the torque. We use newton meters, but over in the States they use pound feet.
Okay.
So it's all whacked.
Pound of feet on that's
They've got
based
like a
on
foot fetish.
Yeah, that's right. It was first when Mr. Poundfoot first slammed his foot on the ground. He created a small
They named it after him.
They measured it. Yeah,
his last name.
Yeah. And Alan Richter was in the room, and he was like, "That's on my scale."
Swapsies. It takes a second. I'm just like, it's impressing to the back of the seat, eh?
Far out, man.
So that was 0 to 100 officially in just under 5 seconds, which is definitely putting it in sports car territory.
Yeah.
And this thanks to this cracking engine, which is, like I said, this 4-litre V8 twin turbo diesel, and it's the same engine found in the early Audi SQ7, because Volkswagen and Audi are brothers from the same mother, so just regular brothers. And when that car came out, the same diesel engine was highly praised by the press.
Okay.
Everyone was shocked at its performance profile.
When did that come
2017 or so. Yeah.
Okay.
And then when the Touareg came out shortly after with the same engine, it really flew under the radar. Like, I did not see much press around it, but it kind of shocked me because it has essentially the same engine. It's slightly detuned, but it just flew under the radar, and I thought that's maybe one of the reasons why this didn't get so much attention.
It's because it had already gotten it in the SQ7?
Yeah, and it's crazy because you could get, like I said, the same engine from the Audi, but for less money. And so it really, the value proposition is there. But what I love about this diesel is that, when you're just coasting around town and driving slowly like this, it's really effortless. Like, you barely touch the accelerator and it just shifts you along nicely.
Yeah.
Thanks to all that torque that's just available. But then if you stomp it,
it still takes
it just absolutely takes off.
Yeah.
And so that dual personality is really awesome to have.
Yeah.
But perhaps even more amazing than the performance and all that is the fuel efficiency. And so officially this spits out on average, I think it's 7.5 litres per 100 Ks, which is around 31 miles per gallon, which, if you don't have a reference point, is really good, especially for the performance output of this vehicle. And so it really is the best of both worlds, because you get that performance and you get the fuel efficiency if you want it. And last but not least, being a diesel, and one of the characteristics of a diesel was that, with all that torque, it makes it great for towing. And so this has a 3.5 ton towing capacity, so you can tow your planet or whatever. I don't know what weighs that much.
A boat.
Yeah, a boat.
Couple of boats, a fleet.
But there are two kind of major drawbacks, I think, for this engine. So one is being a diesel, and this is characteristic of all diesel engines, is it has a limited rev range, meaning the tachometer kind of goes up to 4,500. What that really means is that you don't get that opportunity to really ring it out in each gear. Like, the party's over pretty quick.
Okay.
And so that detracts, I guess, from that sense of speed and power a little bit.
Does it have more gears?
No, it doesn't have more gears. No, so this is the 8-speed ZF automatic, which you will now recall we spent a lot of time talking about.
Man, ZF is supplying, seems like, most of the transmissions to all of the cars we drive.
They certainly do, a lot of, The second thing that maybe detracts from this vehicle and this engine a little bit is the sound or lack thereof. And that is also characteristic of diesels. They don't typically have a sporty sound.
It did right at the start of the acceleration. But yeah, I agree.
Pretty quiet though, and pretty sedate.
And that flows with the non-high revs, as you were saying, right?
Yep. There's that as well. Yeah. However, the Audi SQ7 has the capability to pump in fake engine noise to plug that gap.
What do you mean?
Well, so they through speakers and in a system they can play essentially fake engine noise through the speakers.
Do they do that?
Yeah, man. Yep.
Okay,
a lot of the cars we've driven have done that.
I guess most electric cars would have to do that if they wanted.
If they wanted to, they'd have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
I can imagine a future where they put like Pingu in it.
That'd be sick, man. I'd buy that.
Yeah. Okay. So I get it to have the option, but I was going to say that doesn't necessarily go with the driver persona that you were describing. where if, you know, they're wanting understated, then that's what they're going for.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is great. Like, I would imagine if you were a wealthy person that needed the utility and function that you were going for whatever purpose that you're having, if you had a boat that you were towing, or if you had like work that you needed to do that required it, absolutely you can fulfill that function. But at the same time, it's very comfortable.
It is.
Yeah.
And quiet. And I think that's thanks to a couple of things. So one is the air suspension that this is optioned with. So that keeps the ride fairly plush.
Cushiony?
And it gives it the ability, you know, through the settings you can adjust it. So I think before we were in sport mode, you felt the bumps through the road, but in comfort it just kind of smooths it all out.
It does.
And so there's plenty of insulation as well. You know, the windows and everything prevents a lot of the noise coming in.
Yeah.
So it is a nice quiet ride. What's interesting about this car is that the platform that it's built on is, I've already mentioned, it's shared with the Audi SQ7, but it's also shared with the Porsche Cayenne and even the Bentley Bentayga. They're all in it together.
Wow.
And what's interesting about this platform is that it's clearly these manufacturers can tune it on a spectrum between being kind of luxury and quiet to kind of high performance. And it feels like this Volkswagen Touareg is tuned suspension-wise and body control-wise to be somewhere between the Audi and the Bentley in terms of its comfort. I haven't driven the Bentley, I'd like to, but one can only imagine that that's going to be on the more comfortable side.
Yeah.
And that's evident in the way this thing handles too.
Yeah.
You know, it's on that comfort luxury side.
Yeah.
It has a kind of yacht-like quality to it around the bends.
I was going to say,
did you feel that?
The weight of it, you do feel like it's a little bit of a lag there. You know, it reminds me of cartoons where like Roadrunner would like be off at the speed of light, but he can lead his head there and then it zooms up with him.
Oh yeah, is that the feeling you get? Yeah, so
a little bit.
Are you feeling like the front end kind of turns and then the back follows it later almost? Yeah. It has that. It has got that kind of heavy quality, but you know, it is a heavy vehicle, so there's only so much you can do to get around that.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there is one optional feature of this vehicle that goes a long way in helping it get around those corners and moving that weight, which is its four-wheel steering.
Oh, okay.
And so it turns the rear wheels at the same time as the front wheels, and depending on what speed you're going, it either turns those rear wheels the same direction or the opposite direction.
Okay.
To provide you the maximum amount of the science. And there's some sort of term.
Angular momentum?
Sure, that sounds good. And so that certainly helps it get around the bends. But I think with that feature, I mean, like you can probably feel it right now.
Yeah.
Going around that corner, it just gives it this tightness, which is really impressive. Again, because I think it's less to do with being able to take corners at speed, although it does help, and more about having it be comfortable.
You do feel very attached to the road at all points. It doesn't feel like, oh, my car is going to tip over if I take this corner any faster.
It is sort of well mannered around the corners.
Yeah.
Yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't actually feel like the center of gravity is particularly high up either. And you know, in some SUVs, and you know, I'm just speaking from because I've done a couple of test drives this week. It does feel like you're so high up, and the car's narrow enough that it isn't as stable. But this feels very centered.
It does, it does, and I think a lot of that is thanks to the platform it's built on is really, really good. But also this four-wheel drive system, it goes a long way in keeping it feeling planted.
Yeah.
The four-wheel steering also really helps with maneuvers like this. I mean, I can basically,
do a U-turn.
Do a U-turn on a pretty narrow road.
Yeah.
Like,
shocking.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does really help get this big boy around the corners. And speaking of big boy, why don't we hop out and size this thing up?
Is it gonna be a big one?
Oh, you're in the back again. Why are you always in the back, man? It's weird.
It feels like being chauffeured places. It's
that's nice. It is that kind of car. What do you think about the way it looks?
It is a tank. It is a bit of a beast. It takes up a bit of volume, which is quite cool. Yeah. I love the mags on this, how they're black and they match the color of the car, which is beautiful. But yeah, it's also like, it's strange. It looks from the outside smaller than it looks from the inside, would be my impression of it.
You mean it feels bigger on the inside?
Yes,
than
it feels
looks?
bigger than
yeah. That's what.
Why don't you just do the whole video? Why am I saying
Just-
anything?
can you just put like a paper bag over your head and then we'll just
That might be a good, way to do it.
nah.
Yeah, we could do it. It'll be like the Stig, except
like a Stig, but like a
real
dumb
budget.
one. Like, yeah, like doesn't know anything about cars. Is like crashing and shit. Anyway,
Can't see anything.
we should do it. Top Gear will be calling us, being like, "We want you on the show." I had an opinion about the styling, and then I've revised it.
Okay.
And so, which is the sign of adulthood, isn't it? I don't know.
You can change your mind?
Yeah, open-mindedness and all that. Anyway, so my initial thoughts were that I like the styling, generally speaking.
Okay.
I especially like the front end. The front grille kind of incorporates the Matrix LED headlights, and altogether it kind of has this menacing kind of look and feel from the front. But then the rest of the car, I did find anyway, the styling somewhat unremarkable.
Okay.
But there's a good reason for that, and I kind of talked about it in the drive about how this car lacks some of that theatre and that drama, and that seems to be true on the outside as well. And ultimately what I realised is that I'm not the intended buyer for this kind of car.
Who is?
Well, the owner of this car is probably a good place to start. But, I think that when I look at it through the lens of the person that does own this car, then the styling feels completely different and it feels really on point.
Yes. I know, it's really hard because there are so many SUVs on the roads nowadays that to do something in terms of styling that really stands out or looks very different, that's not already like taken in with a brand aesthetic that's very common, for example like a Range Rover, I think would be very, very challenging.
It is, yeah. Unless you're like BMW and you just put the designer on LSD and be like, come up with something.
Just have windmills coming out of the vehicle or something.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, like you could do that and be outrageous. But yeah, to keep the styling subdued, but still handsome enough to be appealing, is probably a tricky balance to strike for the designers. And I think they actually have done it. So I was chatting to the owner of this car, and he was saying, I was talking about, what drew you to this car, and he said he liked the power and the subtlety and the luxury creature comforts. Okay. But he didn't want to make a scene out of it, right?
Okay.
And so he didn't want all the attention.
Understated.
Yeah, understated, okay. Right. And so he especially liked with the diesel engine, the torque, but also the fuel efficiency. And so that he likes having the best of both worlds. There's one really telling element, I think, in the styling and the design that proves that is exactly what Volkswagen was going for, and it's at the back.
Okay.
Should we have a look?
No.
Can you see what it is?
No, I can't.
Idiot. No, what? No.
What are you looking at? What are you seeing?
Nothing is the point. So there's no badge or indication of what version of the Touareg this is. You can tell
it does say Touareg.
It says Touareg. Well done. And you
I
can tell
read.
it's a Volkswagen, but there's no other label to go with it. And there are several variations of this car with lower outputs and different engines.
Do they have badges?
No.
Oh, okay.
And so it's so weird because this is like the top of the line model for the money you're paying and the power that it's got under it. You would assume, or normally there would be some
neon
sort of
sign.
indication. Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be a neon sign, but some sort of indication, even a small one.
Yeah.
And so that right there tells me a lot though, because it's like they know, or they think anyway, that the owners don't want people to know what they've got under the hood. Okay. Only the owner cares about what's under the hood. And so it's a very humble kind of car enthusiast that would own something like this because they don't need anyone else to know what it is.
They're confident in their choice.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there is a tiny little V8 badge on the side of the car.
Oh, okay.
But it's hidden away. I mean, you wouldn't really notice it.
Oh, I spotted it.
Oh,
I'm a bit of a Where's Waldo fan.
Yeah,
Where's
man.
Wally fan?
Wow, you should be a private investigator. I don't know why.
That was actually a suggested career choice for me.
Yeah, wasn't it? I got rubbish truck driver. I like cars and I'm like on time. Inside here lies another clue as to why it was not launched in North America. Can you guess what it is?
The genuine materials.
Yeah. Not a bad guess, not a bad guess. The real answer is actually somewhat related to that. So you're not fully far off. But
Look at that.
I'll explain in more detail in a second. The first major clue, I think, is that this is a two-row, five-seater SUV when it could have easily been a seven-seater, three-row. And because it's built on the same platform, like I mentioned in the driving part, as the Audi SQ7, which is a 7-seater.
Okay.
And America...
Extremely comfortable for the 5.
For sure, for sure. And America likes their big cars.
Yes.
And they like their 7-seaters.
Yes.
And so what they did is they launched a model called the Volkswagen Atlas a year before the Touareg came out, which is a 7-seater vehicle.
I've actually heard of the Atlas.
Oh, well done.
Yeah,
well
I know.
done.
Who would have thought?
You're such a knowledgeable person.
Oh, shut up.
I'm impressed. Oh, I am. And so, but it's more than just that. And so it's the configuration of the seats for sure, but it's also the fact that this is a luxury vehicle.
Okay.
And so to us, that's pretty evident in the interior because it's a really nice place to be in.
It really is.
The leather stitched dash, which I always go on about, but I think that always elevates the interior and props it up. We have massaging seats. We have LED lighting everywhere. And that is another clue because in North America, Volkswagen's not really perceived to be a premium luxury brand.
Okay.
And so it's a bit of a tall order to be charging luxury car prices in a Volkswagen like this over there.
Okay.
And so between the configuration of the seats and, the positioning as a luxury vehicle is another reason why it wasn't launched over there.
What about in Europe?
Yep. It's available in Europe.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it's pretty much most other places in the world except Canada, USA got the
Interesting.
Touareg.
So what are some of the standout features in this interior for you?
Well, like I said, the leather stitched dash does a lot for me. I think the massaging seats are pretty cool. I do think the configuration of the screens down here though are quite odd in the way that it's connected but kind of not connected.
What does that do for the appeal of the vehicle?
I don't really know. I mean, what do you think? Because I don't mind it. It's just less seamless than the full width screens.
I find it very strange this here, and it does seem quite flat and understated apart from this bevel line in the middle that separates those two.
I think it's that bevel line in the middle that is throwing me off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm completely out of whack. I think I'm going to go do a cartwheel.
Let's do it.
That's typically what I do whenever I see
cartwheel,
a bevel. Well, actually, we should probably wrap this up before Paul comes back because he's kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, he is.
But yeah, if you're willing to pay the money for a premium Volkswagen that's close to Audi, BMW, Mercedes money, then you get a pretty awesome car.
It is.
I think it's just the people that are willing to spend that kind of money in a Volkswagen are few and far between, which is why you don't see these everywhere. So it has big torque, but it doesn't talk a big game. It took me ages to come up with that one, man. It's layered.
That is, you're ready to be a dad at this
right?
point.
I know. I feel it in my loins. So yeah, understated luxury power is what it's going for.
Understated, yes. And that was, I think that when the designers came into the scenario, that is the exact market they were targeting.
Absolutely. And they've succeeded. If that's what they were going for, they've certainly succeeded.
They've exceeded slightly because there's a little bit of that optionality that you were talking about before, right? Like there's the sport mode, but then you can go into drive mode. You've got the air suspension that you can layer on and off. And they did leave all of the badges off the car except for that little R up in the front grille. So
yep, no, for sure they've struck a decent balance. The question is, do enough people want that combination from a Volkswagen? Considering the price point places it pretty close to the Audis, BMWs, Mercedes of the world.
Oh, that's the $1 million question, mate. I think that people would probably prefer that from a Rolls-Royce, but and Volkswagen is a close second.
Yeah. Well put. I mean, there's clearly a market for this car, otherwise the owner wouldn't have bought it. So someone out there likes it and wants it. I can see the appeal, but for me personally, it just makes me want an Audi SQ7 because it has the same engine, but it has the practicality of 7 seats and, the option to have that more kind of dramatic soundtrack, with the exhaust.
Yeah, I get that. And that's certainly fair enough because that's your position. That's what you want and that's most appropriate for you. I think that the extra comfort in this is just great. This would be like a mid to late life comfort utility vehicle. Which should be perfect.
Yeah, and that's probably who the majority of these buyers are, to be fair. Yeah. Okay, well, I wonder what everyone else thinks. Let us know in the comments. And if you've made it this far, please help us out by flicking us a like or a subscribe.
Yeah, Alakazam!
Thanks for watching. cut from the... Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Okay, does that look all right?
looks so good.
All right, where's my staff?
It's in the back, I think I'll grab it for you. You're cast out in an
Yeah.
ocean of confusion. There's too much space.
Good on you, mate.
Oh yeah.